welcome back to my channel. In today's demonstration, I'm going to share another blast from the past, and it's a technique called the Joseph's Coat technique. And I have never filmed this for my channel, so I'm really excited to do that. And while I know many of these techniques have been around for years, I also know that there are many who are new to stamping, which means they may have never seen these techniques before. And I'm having the best time recreating with them and using current Stampin' Up products, and it's just so much fun. Now, quite often when I am creating my card, it's on the fly. I don't have a design. I don't exactly know how it's all going to come together. I just have a good time while I'm creating, and I like to share that process with you. So this is going to be another one of those videos where I'm just creating on the fly, and in my head, while I know I want to use the Joseph's Coat technique, I'm thinking I might also like to incorporate the kissing technique, because who wouldn't want that? So without further ado, let's get stamping. For today's card, I am using the Love of Leaves stamp set and dies. I have been so looking forward to receiving this bundle, and I just got it. Haven't even used it yet. Let me show you the dies. Oh my goodness. They're amazing. This is going to be a very well-loved stamp set. I can tell you that for free. So I'm going to set these aside because the first thing I want to do is create my Joseph's Coat base. So I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This measures 5 1/4 by 4. Okay, so I have just pulled out some colors, and I just went with colors I thought would make a nice autumny type background. So I took my terracotta tile, soft suede, cinnamon cider, daffodil delight, and Bermuda Bay. So we're gonna see how these are gonna look. I'm gonna start with my lightest color first. I'm gonna start with the daffodil delight, and I'm gonna use sponge daubers. I just got whole new sets for all of my ink pads. So I will coordinate these to go with each ink pad and just save them for that ink pad. So putting my little finger in, I'm just gonna dab it into my daffodil delight and just go in circles, and I'm just basically randomly coloring in the background of this cardstock. So you can add your colors so many different ways. You can use a regular Stampin' Sponge, you can use our brayer, you can use a smooshing technique. Any way that you want to create a background, you can do that and it will work. Put that aside. Let's go in with our cinnamon cider. Cinnamon cider, I think I have a dauber for that. Yes, I do. These are my new in color daubers. Make sure I got the right one. No, this is the right one. Here we go. You can make it as dark as you like or as light as you like. So I'm actually going back in to do a second layer to get it a little bit more intense. Put a little bit here. And soft suede. You wouldn't ordinarily maybe think of using a brown like soft suede for the Joseph's Coat technique, but because I am using the leaves, I really want to get that fall look that you would find on leaves, and they definitely have brown on them. Being careful not to hide all the color I already put on it, but it does look pretty when you start blending it into the existing colors that are already on that paper. Maybe a little bit right here. I'm excited about adding the next two colors. I think they're really gonna start to make this pop. So terracotta tile. Very nice. I was debating red, I was debating oranges, and I thought terracotta tile was perfect to kind of get both those colors that I wanted. And I'm loving how it looks, like I said, when you go on top of the existing colors. But I gotta save some room for the blue, so I'm going to a little bit here. And Bermuda Bay. Oh, doesn't that look pretty? Now I'm going to take my Daffodil Delight and just go over some of those colors again, just to really see how that really makes it pop. And I'm just blending right on top of the colors that I've already put down. This makes such a beautiful background. Okay, I am really happy with that. So there's my beautiful background. Now the next thing is doing the stamping. So I'm going to take my piercing mat, put that underneath because I'm using photopolymer, and having this underneath your cardstock when you're stamping with photopolymer makes a really big difference. And I'm also going to take a piece of computer paper. I'm going to put this on top because I'm going to be stamping off of this. Hey, a new stamp set to play with. All right, here's the thing. When you are doing the Joseph's coat technique, quite often you would just take your stamps and stamp them with your Versamark and stamp right on top and then emboss and clear. But this is where, in my mind, I was thinking I can combine the Joseph's coat technique with the kissing technique. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. So I am actually going to take, I'm going to take my black memento, and I'm taking the script from this stamp set, and this is what I'm going to use to kiss these stamps with. So actually, let me show you how the kissing technique works with a color. So I'm just going to stamp this with the Bermuda Bay and put some black on here. And then stamp that right on top and stamp it down. And then you get the design because they kissed. And you get all kinds of really great techniques using that two stamps to get that look. So I am going to kind of do that same thing, but instead of using a colored ink pad, I am going to be using my Versamark ink pad. So I'm using the Embossing Buddy because I don't want to get embossing powder where I don't want it. And now I'm going to ink this up. Actually, I'm going to start with my bigger stamps first. So let's start with this one. Ink that up with my Versamark. Now, I actually haven't tried what I'm about to do, but in my head, it's going to work. And it's going to look really, really cool. I hope. So I am going to do it that way so I can see where I'm getting it. So I'm going to kiss the stamp and stamp. Oh my goodness, this is going to look really great. Okay, now I'm moving on to the Oakley Stamp. Let's just use this block here. Do the same thing. Versamark. I have to tell you, I don't know if you're like me, where sometimes it's good to go on Google and do an image search for stamp sets or techniques, just to give you some different ideas on things that you can do. So I did that the other day and typed in kissing technique. Well, friends, let me just tell you, I highly recommend that you add kissing technique stamping or kissing technique cards. Otherwise, you're going to get images for kissing technique that it's probably going to wake you up really fast, because that's what happened to me. I just put kissing technique and then did an image search, and I was like, whoa. Yeah, 2 different techniques going on there. So that was pretty funny. And because my leaf stamps are nice and big, I'm making sure I get those big stamps in there first before I fill in with the tinier stamps. This is gonna look so cool. Okay, so now I'm taking this. Now I actually want this same stamp, so I'm just gonna mist it and wipe it clean before I go back into that first mark. So make sure you get a clean stamp if you're wanting to repeat using that same image. This is gonna look so gorgeous. And I'm not worrying too much about this portion here, because I'm pretty sure that's where I'm gonna put my sentiment. Now I'm taking my clear embossing powder, and I don't know where my spoon is, so I'm just gonna shake it right on. Make sure that everything that has the first mark is well coated with that clear powder before you set that with your heat tool. Look how gorgeous that is. That alone would make a beautiful card without doing anything else. You could cut these out with the dies. You could use this as a background. You could do so much with this. But as this is the Joseph's coat technique, there is another step. So I am going to take my black Memento ink pad, and I have a Stampin' sponge. Now I'm using this instead of a dauber just because it's bigger and it will cover a bigger area quicker. And then I have a baby wipe handy. So what I'm going to do is go right into my black ink pad, and I'm just going to cover the entire piece of cardstock. And if you've never seen this technique before, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, what is that crazy lady doing? But this is stunning. So once you have that totally covered with your black ink, I like to take my baby wipe, just wipe right on top, and then I take a napkin or a piece of paper towel and then just dry it. And all those beautiful colors that you used underneath that black ink just absolutely pop right off the page. And it's absolutely stunning. And it's so cool with that kissing technique on those flowers. So I know that I'm going to want a die cut on the front of my card, so I'm going to repeat the whole process. So I'm going to speed up the video while I do that. Okay guys, I am coming in with the beautiful autumn stamp set because I think I might want some of these smaller leaves and things for decorations too. So why not? So I'm going to use the solid images. Okay, so now that I have this all clear embossed, I was just going to cut it with the dies and the punches for the little ones, but I am going to go over this with the black just like I did here. So do a complete Joseph's coat technique on top because I don't want there to be that little gap of color if I just went ahead and cut them. I want it to have a black edge, so I'm going to go ahead and add my black ink. I have to say I really prefer this one actually over this one because of the extra blues. I love the blues in that, but that is very beautiful too, I must say. So I am super pleased. I am going to go ahead and cut these out. Now I'm not going to need all of the pieces for my one card, but I will at least have the pieces that I need for scrapbooks or other cards that I am going to make. So I'm just going to cut them all out at the same time. Okay, so now I've got these little guys that I'm going to cut with the punches. So all of the products that I'm using, of course, are Stampin' Up, and all of the supplies are listed in the description below, as well as on my blog. And the pieces that I don't use on today's card, I will film to show you what I do end up using them on. Line that up. I love how we can combine our products together, just like I have for today's card. I think it's super cool. Now this one, I don't have enough to hold on to it, so I am just grabbing a little post-it note and I'm going to stick that on here. So I've created a handle and then I can slide it in. Handy dandy little trick. Now there's no punch for these little tiny leaves, but that's okay because they are super easy to cut out with your scissors. There are my beautiful die cuts and punches, and I am so excited to use those on my projects. So I'm going to set these aside. I am not certain what ones are going to be used on today's card, except I know I'm probably going to use a couple of these tiny ones. Okay, so this just measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I'm just folding it, and it now is our standard size card, so it measures 4.25 by 5.5, and this is just going to get glued right on top. Just ran out of my Stampin' Seal, so I'm just using the Stampin' Seal Plus. So I think I want this to go this way. Now, to stamp my sentiment, I'm going to use a piece of basic black cardstock. So I'm going to stamp on the front, "I thought of you today," and then "I'm so glad you're in my life," and then this sentiment, "Your friendship is something I know I can count on," is going to go on the inside. So I'm going to start with "I thought of you today," and I know I want to cut this out with an oval die, so I'm going to stamp it up here so I can save room down below, and I'm going to emboss that with gold. I'm gonna stamp "I'm so glad you're in my life" is going to be stamped next. Ink it with Versamark. and that is going to get embossed with white powder. Okay, so I am using my oval die from my Stitched Shapes die collection, and I'm just going to run that through. And now I've got the scallop oval die cut from the Layering oval die collection. And of course, when you're making your cards, if you don't have all these different dies, if you want them, you can get them from Stampin' Up, but you can use what you have. Either just trim out your sentiment with your paper trimmer or use the punches and dies that you already have. So that is perfect. All right, so I'm gonna put that on my layer and figure out if I want this to go here. It's almost a shame to cover it, isn't it? It's so pretty. I think I'm gonna go that way. Put that on right like so. Super pretty. Okay, let's figure out my embellishments here. I want to use the ones that are really big. I'm going to save those. Yes, definitely the little ones. So I am taking a little bit of the gold twine and I'm going to add a bow before I put on my leaves. I've just folded that glue dot in half and place that down. I absolutely love how this trim phrase, I think it's so cool. Just tapping it a little bit so it frays a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna need more glue dots. So I'm just putting a glue dot behind my little leaves here, and I'm just gonna start tucking them around the oval. Except I want that ribbon on top. There we go. I'm just going to add some dimension to my leaves by curling them over my Take Your Pick tool, just so they're not like completely flat. So I'm just picking it up. I'm lifting it up with the tool and then just rolling it right on top. So it gives it a really pretty dimension. I don't know how this is gonna look, but let's try one of these frosted epoxy droplets. See how that would look right in the center. I'm gonna tell you that's gonna be perfection. Little paper for the inside. I think I'm actually just going to glue one of these leaves on, just to decorate the inside a little bit. Just like that. Super happy with that card. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and make a super fast second card using these. Just to show you what you can do really fast. Again, no design, just winging this. I'm going to put that on like so. I'm going to use the Hope Changes Everything. And I'm going to emboss that with white. So I have just cut this down so I know that this is 4 1/4 across so that I can center my sentiment. Okay, so I have just gone and trimmed that. So put that on with some adhesive. And I knew I was going to put a strip across this, so that's why I put that there. So just going to line that up on top. My bow this time is going to be with linen thread. And then this card is ready. So this was just a last minute card. I knew I was going to do something with those die cuts after I finished filming this card. So I thought, oh, you know, I'll keep the video on. So again, just kind of roll up my glue dot. And I'm going to put it right across here, which will hold that stem down as well. I'm just going to put a tiny little pearl on the center, and there are today's cards. So the Joseph's Coat technique, absolutely gorgeous, so much fun. Look at your solid stamp sets and just play. And again, you don't need to add that second stamp where I kissed the two together, but doesn't that look cool when you do that? You could use the buffalo check background instead of the script. You can do all kinds. And of course, this was just using the die cuts that I had left over from using the Joseph's Coat technique. So pretty. I'm so happy with them. I can't wait to play some more with these stamps and dies, and I hope I've inspired you today to give these techniques a try. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I appreciate you. Have a great day and happy stamping.